the assistant director for the sport management program, and I'll be kind of covering a bunch of different topics for you tonight. And with me, we have a student. So Aaron, if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Griffith, and I'm a senior in the sport management program. So Ian asked me to just kind of hop on and give a student perspective for you guys tonight. So I think we're doing questions at the end, right, Ian?
Right.
Yeah, so if you guys have any specific questions about student life, anything that you want to hear from a student perspective, that's kind of what I'm here for. And I'll kind of jump into some of our programs and stuff later in the PowerPoint.
Sounds good. Thanks, Aaron, for being here. And I really encourage you guys to think of questions for Aaron. I think my voice is important to talk about the program, but Aaron's is probably more important to talk about the experience of a student, and you guys could see yourselves in his shoes. So he's been an outstanding student. He's co-president of our student club, which you'll hear from him in a little bit. So he's got quite a big perspective to share with you guys. So again, thank you for joining us. We're here tonight to talk about what the Olympic Committee, the Denver Nuggets, and the English Premier Soccer League all have in common, and that is us, UCCS Sport Management. And so we want to share a few different reasons that make our program pretty unique. There's quite a few sport management programs throughout the United States, about 430. And the vast majority of them are in colleges outside of the College of Business. So they're in College of Education or College of Kinesiology or something along those lines, which is, it's just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're going to talk tonight about what makes our program unique. And one of those things is the degree and how that's situated. And then a lot of these partnerships that we have with different organizations for our students to really get engaged in the industry, because that's quite important, as you will find out. So as we look at just a brief program overview, kind of as I just set up, we are a business-based program. And so for students that want a business degree and are super passionate about sport, whether you have been a former athlete or a current athlete, or you just love watching Monday Night Football or the World Series that starts tomorrow or whatever it is, with a Bachelor of Science in Business, and then your emphasis is sport management. So we're going to talk about that in terms of the curriculum and see what classes those are on the next slide. But I just want to make sure that you guys know that first and foremost, if you want athletic training or physical therapy or something like that, we have other programs at UCCS, but we are really the business side of sports. So the marketing, sponsorships, ticket sales, partnership activations, like when you see Coca-Cola throughout the stadium, how did that placement occur? How did that deal get signed? Operations, all of those things that make sport happen. We've got about 155 students in the program currently. And a key figure that I want you guys to pay attention to here is that there's 35% of our program is non-Colorado residents. And I know that some of you joining this call right now are from out of state. I saw there were people from Texas, California, Illinois, Montana, Minnesota, obviously Colorado as well. But that's really neat to see that you guys are joining us tonight. And I'm sure there's other states that I'm missing in that short list, but that's a big population of our student. About a third of our student population comes from other states, because Colorado Springs really is one of America's strongest, most saturated sport markets in the country. And that provides opportunities for networking and internships. And then our retention rate is over 80%. Really, it averages closer to 90%, but I like to err on the side of caution. And so some of the stuff that Aaron's going to talk about a little bit later will explain some of the things that we do as a student body and as a program to connect our students professionally, but also to goof around, have fun, and build relationships that oftentimes turn into lifelong friendships, because we think that's super important. And so the reason the retention rate connects to that is students that come here, they find that they get what they were told they were going to get out of our program. They've got access to the industry, like we're promoting in terms of the connections and those opportunities, but they build friendships. They build professional mentorships. They build so many different avenues to go, and it's invaluable. You have to have that in any degree, but in sport management and business, you have to have connections and opportunities. So we're going to talk about how we do some of those things. So here's the curriculum. If anyone wants a copy of this, just shoot me an email. I'll throw my email up on the screen at the end. There's a lot on here, but on the right, this is what your 4 years would look like. So You'll see all the classes that students take freshman through senior year. It is a 4-year degree. And you'll see that there's some general education classes, our English 101s, our college algebras, things like that. Then you're going to see the core business classes, so our accountings, finance, management, marketing, operations, things like that, to really make sure that all students that graduate from the College of Business earn a business degree. And then on top of that, you're going to see some bolded SPTM classes, and those are our sport management classes. There's 12 of them on there, and that's what builds our emphasis. So instead of taking intro to business, you're going to take intro to sport management. Instead of taking business law, you're going to take sport law. And then there's a bunch of upper division courses that our students either have to take, or you'll see down in senior and junior year, there's some sport emphasis classes where students pick which classes they want to take from a list of different offerings. So that's really what shapes the degree in terms of what students have to and get to take. And then the images on the left, this really aligns with AACSB accreditation. That's the top business school accreditation for all business schools worldwide. Top 5% internationally are accredited by AACSB. And we've held that for about 30 years now. And so what that represents is that you are getting a quality degree, a quality curriculum, and quality professors. And with that, you're also getting more quality students in the classroom that are motivated to learn, that want to do well. They're not just coming to college to go to college. They're coming to college because they see the future opportunity. But that curriculum and that AACSB accreditation is aligned with our sport industry. We work very closely with our sport partners to ask them, hey, how are our interns doing? Do they seem to have the knowledge that you need and want them to have when they come intern with you? And taking it a further step, our alumni, when they come in entry level, are they hitting the ground running, or are you having to teach them a bunch of on-the-job training? And if so, what are those holes so that we can fill them in our curriculum so they're even more ready to benefit you when they get to you? And so one example recently is last year, we started a sports sales and analytics class for one of those upper division emphasis options. And that was because the Kroenke group, the Nuggets, the Avalanche, and the Rapids, we have a very strong partnership. They told us, hey, your students are lacking in the ticket sales arena, and the analytics thing is just, as many of you I'm sure want to do sport analytics, that's a hole that we could fill. And so we created the class, and I think we've done a really good job at educating students and getting them some of that experience up front. So this is really that curriculum side. Again, if you want this document, I'm happy to send it to you. So just shoot me an email and I will get that out to you guys. This next slide is a high level representation of what we think sport consists of in terms of 4 key sectors. So when you guys think of sport, you may think of one particular thing, and that could be different for each of you. But so when we think of it for our students, most of our students are coming in and they've got these buckets or these categories of sectors. And so professional sport is one bucket, collegiate sport, Olympic sport, and then youth and recreational is another. And so in each of these different sectors, we've got really great partnerships, both locally on the state scale and also internationally, as you can see here with some of these logos. So on the professional side, we've got a partnership with Kroenke Sports and Entertainment. They're the ownership group of the Nuggets, the Avalanche, and the Rapids, as well as the Mammoth, the LA Rams, Arsenal, Pepsi Center. The list goes on and on and on. Stan Kroenke has quite a bit of money. And so our partnership with them is really excellent to get our students unique opportunities, internships, access to that professional group of sports to build their resume and also to launch their careers. We also locally have the Vibes, who Mr. Griffith here works for, and he can tell you about that experience in a few minutes. But the Vibes are, Rocky Mountain Vibes are our single A baseball team. Then we have the USL Pro Switchbacks. And then internationally, we threw up West Ham's logo. We've sent 25 students since 2011 over to England to work with English Premier Soccer clubs like Manchester City, Everton, West Ham, Norwich, Sunderland, and then we had a student go to the Shamrock Rovers in Dublin. So international exposure and opportunity is certainly on the docket of possibilities. Collegiately, tons of opportunities right here in Colorado Springs. There's 6 collegiate institutions, both on the institutional side and on the conference side. So Mountain West is the biggest conference there. The Olympic movement side of it, obviously the headquarters of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee are headquartered here, as well as the most prominent of 3 Olympic training centers. And that's why we are Olympic City, USA. Colorado Springs is synonymous with Olympic City, USA. And so we have 24 national governing bodies. So whether you're into hockey, swimming, badminton, judo, karate, artistic swimming, you know, there's 24 national governing bodies that are headquartered right here in sports like those, for our students to get in and get that Olympic side of sport and what that all entails. And then we've got about 30 organizations that don't fit into those 3 buckets, and that's where they're in this recreational category. And those are, you know, Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, that PPICHC logo that you see. They race cars up Pikes Peak, which is over 14,000 feet. They're going about 85 miles an hour average speed around corners that do not have guardrails on all of them. It's an insane race that our students get to go and help do event management for. So the point is there are more than enough opportunities. We've got relationships with over 100 different organizations. 60 of them are right here in Colorado Springs, so you don't have to go but maybe 5 to 10 miles from campus at the most to work with 60 of those 100. And so the opportunities, they're really strong, and they're really, really great for our students. I'm going to turn it over to Aaron to talk about the industry engagement side of things, and then give a little perspective on his time here at UCCS.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, so I guess the best way to start would just be to give a brief overview of kind of myself and why I came to UCCS in the first place. I am from Thornton, Colorado, which is 20-30 minutes north of Denver, and I went to Horizon High School. I don't know if anybody out in the audience is around that area. But my senior year of high school, I started thinking about where I wanted to go to school, what I wanted to do, which I'm sure a lot of you are in that same boat. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, don't wake up to do something that you don't like. And so I sat there and I thought for a long time about what I really liked to do and what I wanted to do. And at the time I was a student athlete, I was playing baseball. I wasn't good enough to move on, but I still really enjoyed baseball. And so I was like, you know what, instead of playing, I'm going to go work in baseball. And so that's what kind of got me introduced to sport management. And then I started doing my research, and UCCS came up, and I knew I wanted to stay relatively close to home, just so that I could go back and see my family when I needed to and stuff like that. So UCCS was kind of the perfect fit for me personally. So I took a campus visit, and I fell in love with it the first time I stepped on campus, and I've been here ever since. I'm a senior, I'm a true senior, so I've been here, this is my 4th year here. I'll graduate in May of 21, as long as Spencer passes me in all our mandatory sport classes, which I'm sure he will. But throughout my time here, I've got involved in many ways with sport and sport management. And the main one here being this first bullet is our Sport Management Activity Council, or SMAC. And that's a committee that we have in place with the sport management program to kind of get a student voice and a student opinion on what you guys want to see. So our main job is to, kind of schedule and host events that would benefit you guys as students. And we do that by listening to your guys' opinions and, what you guys want to see. So an example is we have guest speakers throughout the whole semester, and, you can come to one of these SMAC meetings and say, hey, I am really interested in marketing. And so I want to hear from a marketing person. And so we'll go out and we'll find an industry professional in the area who is involved in marketing within a sport organization, and we'll ask them to come speak to the group of sport management kids. So we do a bunch of stuff like that. We do a bunch of social events so that you guys can come and get acquainted with each other, because chances are you're going to be here for 4 years with the same people for all 4 years, whether you like it or not. And so we try and make sure that you like it. So we try and build friendships, and kind of like Ian was talking about, these kind of like lifelong connections that you'll have not only for these 4 years, but obviously throughout your career. So that's kind of what SMAC is. Next bullet is about internships. So I'll kind of go into my personal history on what I've done since I've been here. Before you go on any internships in sport management, you have to do what's called field experience. And that's actually a really cool thing because it allows you to kind of dip your toes in the sport world and kind of figure out what you want to do if you're not, fully committed to anything yet. And that was really cool for me because I came in and all I knew is that I wanted to work in sport, but there are so many arms to the sport world. It's basically, it's a business. So, when you think of a business, there's finance and there's marketing and there's sales and there's all sorts of different stuff that I didn't even realize. And so doing this different field experience stuff really helped me, kind of see all these different arms and stuff and finally narrow down on what I really wanted to do. So when I first got here, I worked with D1 Sports Training, which is a local, I guess kind of a gym for a lack of better words, but they're a training facility in the area, and I did a bunch of stuff for them. And then that led into, I did about 1.5 years at the Air Force Academy, and that was really cool. That was one of my favorite things that I've done here. We did game day marketing and promotions. So all those like games down on the field and stuff that you see when you go to any pro game, they do it at the college level too. So we got to kind of manage those and run those, which was really cool. And that let me see a lot of the marketing arm of sport. And so I turned that into a full year internship, and that was my first official internship. And that was really cool because I went from executing to planning and managing those marketing stuff for Air Force. So that was really cool to see kind of both sides of the coin there. And then it kind of rolled into what I do now, and that's what Ian kind of hinted at. I work for the Rocky Mountain Vibes. We're the rookie ball affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. So we're a professional baseball team here in the Springs. And the story is actually really funny. I knew I wanted to work in baseball, and I had a job like lined up with the Rockies, and they pulled out last second because they wanted someone closer to Denver. So I like frantically bursted into Ian's office, and I was like, dude, I need an internship and I need to figure it out right now. And so Ian emailed Chris Phillips, who's the general manager there, and he was like, hey, I've got a kid who needs an internship. And I was literally hired within the week. And it's been an awesome experience. I'm still there currently. And so last year I was an intern in ticketing and merchandise, which was really cool because I got to see how ticket sales work. And I was selling season tickets and mini plans, and then kind of managing the team store and stuff like that. And while I was there, they hired a guy named Ben Snyder, who's kind of a big time person here in the community. He owns his own company, planning events around the country, for lack of a better term. And he kind of mentored me throughout that season. And he's one of my best friends, to this day. But when Ben ended up leaving, that opened a position at the organization. And so I was seriously considered, and then I ended up getting it. So now I am the director of ticketing and merchandise for the Vibe. So I oversee all ticketing operations and merchandise stuff for the Vibe. So I'm not the only one who has a story like this. You can ask around, most of the program, and a lot of kids have, interned and turned it into jobs and stuff. So just kind of got lucky and was able to turn that into a job that I'm able to do now, even while I'm in school. So the next bullet is our mentorship program. So that's another thing that I'm heavily involved in. I kind of took that over for Ali Schwartz, who used to be the president of SMAC before I was. And this is a really cool program because, kind of like I said, Ben came in and mentored me, and that was, one of the biggest turning points in my sport career. And so we kind of force the issue, if you will, with students and pair them up with mentors that have similar interests or similar career paths that they want to follow. And, throughout the semester, we let them, kind of meet on their own pace and, let them teach whatever they want to teach and learn whatever they want to learn. And that's been a really successful and cool program. Sport networking night, that's coming up this week on Thursday, ironically enough. And actually, I have my little schedule on here. It's a little different this year. We can't meet in person, but this is probably the most beneficial event that we host. SMAC is heavily involved in this as well. But we get people from, the Nuggets, the Avs, the Rapids, the Vibes, the Olympic movement. We get somebody from everywhere, and we gather them all up in a room basically, and we just network. And we students go around, they figure out if there are internships available, they figure out if there's that field experience available, stuff like that. And you know, you just meet a bunch of industry professionals, which is almost just as valuable. So that's a really cool thing that we do. And
can I chime in real quick, Aaron?
Yeah.
Sorry, but if for you guys, the image on the left side in the middle, the overhead view of everyone at these tables, that's an image of last year's networking night to put a visual to what Aaron is describing there.
Yeah, and last year was really cool. We had it in the brand new Ent Center for the Arts. So we had a new location for that, and it was really cool. We were just able to, you know, again, walk around at our own leisure and talk to who we wanted to talk to. And it looks intimidating, but it's actually really cool and really beneficial for your careers. And it's rare to get that many industry professionals in one place at one time, as you'll learn throughout your time. But then the last bullet there is just numerous other ways to engage. And I think I kind of already touched on this, but, you know, a lot of that has to do with what SMAC plans and delivers. And, you know, we have guest speakers. We've done like field days where we invite all these professionals out again, but it's way more relaxed, and we play cornhole and football and stuff like that. So you just get to meet these people in a really relaxed setting. In your classes, you'll go out and take field trips to like the Pepsi Center and the Olympic Training Center, and, you know, places like that. So there's a lot of other ways too, besides just the stuff that we've mentioned, that gets you involved and, you know, helps you develop your careers. So I think that's it for my slide. At least that's all I can think of for now. So if you guys have questions, feel free to pop those in there. But I think we have one more slide, don't we, Ian?
We do. Yeah, Aaron, thank you. I'll say Aaron didn't just get the job. He certainly earned the job and that opportunity. And so kudos to you to get that and then keep moving up the ladder. But this is a really great segue into this final slide here of why would you not want to be in this program? Why would you not want to get involved? And so here's kind of what you do next. And we'd love for you guys to apply. I know a lot of you that are on the call have already applied and already even been admitted, but we need to start the conversation. And I'm that person for you to start having those emails, those phone calls, those video calls, whatever they are. And so depending where you are in terms of freshman or transfer, you can look at the different criteria, but I want to call your attention, if you're a freshman, to that red font there, because ACTs and SATs are so hard to find right now. And so they're a challenge with COVID. You do not need to take an ACT or SAT. And so if you have a 325 unweighted and better half of 50% of your class, you can be admitted without a score. But I will tell you this, if you do take an ACT or SAT and you do not get the scores that are listed on this slide, do not submit them to UCCS, or at least to our program. Right now, there's this internal shuffle, and to not get into it, that could actually hinder your application or your admission. So if your scores are not where they need to be, don't submit them yet. And if you have that 325 or better, then you'd be admitted without it. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. But we'd love to open it up to some Q&A to make sure that you guys are getting out of this what you want. So what do you have for us, Jacqueline?
Yeah, thanks. So there is a Q&A box for all of you to type in questions. But we did get a question about whether we had a men's soccer team. And I just wanted to let everyone know that we are Division II. We do have a men's soccer team. And if you're interested in playing a Division II sport at UCCS, you can go to gomountainlions.com. And under the athletics tabs, there's a prospects form where you can indicate your interest. But part of that question, Ian, was, do you have any experience with student athletes in your program, and do you have any advice or tips on that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we do have quite a few student athletes in our program, so it can be done. Our program is rather time intensive in some ways with all these external events that Aaron mentioned, but you definitely can do it. The biggest thing that's different for a student athlete and a non-student athlete is we don't allow our student athletes to do an internship the semester that their sport is in season, because that's just way too many major priorities, but otherwise it can totally be done.
Our next question is, what does the program look like if a student wants to have an education abroad experience?
Yeah, that's another good question, and we can totally fit those in. And it depends on the student in terms of where they're going, but our campus and our college and our program all have great relationships abroad for those. Generally, sophomore and junior year is the best time to go abroad. Senior year, there's a little bit too much that kind of binds people to campus. but they'd work with their academic advisor and myself to make sure that we're coordinating all the classes, all the internships, all the requirements to get the best out of that experience. But we have students go abroad every single year.
All right, and I know you mentioned before that with there's Premier League opportunities, but are there other internship opportunities abroad?
So there can be. England is the area that we've built the best relationships, and part of it is, quite honestly, there's no language barrier, and that's one of the big reasons behind that. But we have had students who are, one kid, Francesco Trentanaglia, he's graduating with Aaron as well. He's a rock star. He's a dual U.S. Italian citizen. His parents live in Italy. He created opportunities for himself, and he's done two of his internships in Italy and one of them in England. I don't think he's done a single internship in the United States yet. Yes, there are more opportunities, but our best relationships are in England.
How many graduates find jobs right out of college?
It's a great question, and it depends how you define right out of college. So we'll not talk COVID, because COVID really hurt pretty much all of our grads in May, as you can imagine. But so the students like Aaron, I'll use Aaron as an example, the students that are the most engaged in our program, taking advantage of the different networking and mentorship opportunities, doing their internships, and not just doing one, doing more, those are the ones that are getting hired the soonest post-graduation. But it just depends on how connected, how motivated people are. I would say average time is maybe 6 months post-graduation. Are they finding a career-focused job as opposed to just kind of a job? But again, it's a really great question, and it just really depends on how engaged that student is. Like Aaron, he has a job before a year, basically, you got hired full-time, I think, before you will have graduated. Morgan Bergquist is his co-president. She just got a full-time job offer last week, and she graduates in December. So there's two cases, highly engaged and getting offers before they graduate.
Yeah, and Ian, let me just jump in here real quick too. One of the things that also made me want to come to this program is it's a business degree, which is what Ian said too. So, if there is another instance, like COVID, for a good example, there are other opportunities when the sport industry might not be doing as well. So
that's a great point, Aaron.
I have a buddy who's out working at Charles Schwab and Lockheed Martin because, there's just not any sports jobs left, but because they have this business degree, it opened up opportunities that they might not have had, with another program or another degree. So that's something else to consider as well.
Big time job security. And for you parents that are on the call, that's a safety net for you guys. It really is. You're falling back on a business degree the way ours is set up, and that's a great thing to fall back on. So Aaron, I'm glad you hit that one.
And I would just say, as an on-campus employer, we actually have had several sport management students work in our office, and I've always been very impressed with the skills that they bring to the Office of Admissions, and you get very good training from the program, and again, we're Office of Admissions, so not sport related, but those, it's a great student employment opportunity. If anyone's thinking about working on campus, I'd encourage you to look at our office as well. We give campus tours and students can work at our front desk, but I've been very impressed. All right, our next question. Can you expand on your sports analytics program, and if you have one?
So we do have a business analytics emphasis or minor. I'm not exactly sure. That's part of the College of Business. For sport, we don't have a sport analytics program, but we do have a sport analytics class. And so that's a junior or senior year elective class that students can take where they focus on sport sales and analytics within that one semester course.
And I was going to touch on it at the end, but I'll just highlight it here. The College of Business will be next week's major Monday. So if you want to hear just kind of like the business side, that would be a great opportunity to learn more about the business analytics program as well. Are you involved with tennis management?
Good question. Not directly. The Tennis Association, if I'm not mistaken, is out in New York, I think in Flushing, New York. But our director, Dr. Eric Olson, is a very avid tennis player. He played college tennis, And if you ever get into his office, you'll see what Aaron, he's got like 8 rackets up on his wall from way back in the 50s or something.
Back in the good old
So
days.
that's right. So we don't have a tennis management program, and the governing body of tennis is not located here, but there's definitely opportunities there, and Dr. Olson would be probably the first to knock on the door to open that relationship, because that's near and dear to his heart as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to double major, for instance, in sport management and finance or accounting?
Great question. Absolutely. So I'll talk a couple of things. Our program is set up to be an emphasis only. There's no minor option for our program, but students can do a dual emphasis. So you'd have your degree is business, and then you could pick sport management as your emphasis, and any of these options, and I'm probably going to miss a couple, but finance, accounting, marketing, management, HR, operations. There's probably 3 that I'm missing. Business analytics is probably going to be another way to do all that. That's a new offering. So yes, you can do a dual emphasis. You would want to talk with your academic advisor to make sure that you use all of your open electives on the degree plan for that other emphasis, to make the best use of building your curriculum plan. Aaron, you're not a dual, are you?
I have a minor, but I'm not a dual major, no.
Okay. Probably about a quarter of our students are a dual emphasis. So yes, you can totally do it. And you can do it outside of the College of Business. A lot of our students are actually a dual in sport communication, and the communication department is outside of the College of Business, so that can be done as well.
What percentage of students find an internship, and how long does it take to be enrolled in it? And maybe you can cover how many internships are required for sport management.
Yeah, so like Aaron was explaining, our students have to do some prerequisite hours called field experience before they can be eligible for credit earning internships. There are 2 internships built into the degree plan, so you have to do at least 2 internships. One is a 3-credit internship, the other is a 4-credit internship. They're both a semester long in nature. However, Aaron had mentioned he worked with Air Force Athletics for a full year. That's totally fine. We can still work with that, and that doesn't prohibit anything. So you need to do 2, and 100% of our students get an internship. It's the only way to graduate with our degree, and we make sure that our connections are not a limiting factor for students to go on and get their internships. So all of our students get internships. They drive the process. So we help spoon feed, we help guide. Myself and my colleague Rachel Leaf were full-time staff for the program. So we work one-on-one with our students to help them figure out what the heck they want to do. So this is not a program where we just randomly tell you, Aaron, you're going to go there, and Jacqueline, you're going to go here. You really tell us, I'm interested in marketing and I'd love to work with a professional baseball team, or I want to work in the Olympic movement. You help steer where you end up going. We don't get you internships, so I want to be clear on that. You've got to earn it. We will help you along the way. We will make introductions. We will get you in networking events. We will do a lot to get you there, but you have to be the one to earn it. Because if we get it for you, we're not teaching you that real process of getting there in life. So all of our students get internships. And those, getting back to that job placement question, again, those that do 3 or 4 internships, the more the better in this scenario. It's more resume, more networking, more experience, more marketability.
Can you touch again on how many students are in the sport management program?
Yeah, so we've got 155 students this fall, and we've fluctuated anywhere, a couple of years ago, we were about 120, and we've been growing. Last year, we had more like 180 or 175. So we kind of go up and down based on number of graduates and things, but 155 right now. And so that's about, I'm not good at math, but what's 45 times 4? Is that relatively evenly distributed? You guys can do the math. It's late.
All right. Is sport management the right major for opening a sports facility?
It definitely could be. It depends what kind of sport, like what that actually means. But if you're talking about like a training gym for athletes or a CrossFit gym, yeah, business is an absolute essential skill to run your own company and understand the finances and the marketing and how to manage your employees and all of those different things. So the business degree would absolutely play into that. And then understanding how to roll that into a sports setting, it definitely makes sense. And a lot of our students want to do it. It just depends, you know, even physical therapists, for example, a lot that go on and do, you know, we aren't going to teach you how to be a physical therapist, but somebody who's a physical therapist and has a business degree with sport management, that makes a lot of sense too if they're running their own practice, because again, you've got to know, how do I work with insurance companies? How do I put my bills through? How do I market my program? All of those different examples. So there's a great way, and a business degree, quite honestly, works practically anywhere, unless you get into engineering, being a doctor, those sorts of very big specialty areas. A business degree has applicability everywhere in today's world.
We had a question about deadlines for applying for fall of 2021. Wanted to let everyone know that we don't have early decisions, so we have rolling admissions. However, the best time to apply is actually right now. It takes 2 to 4 weeks to get an admissions decision. Once we get, at a minimum, your high school transcript and your online application. And then starting December 1st, admitted students can apply for scholarships and housing. And the scholarship application, many of those deadlines are around March 1st. So winter break is a great time to get on and start filling out those applications. Again, you have to be admitted in order to do that. Submitting a scholarship application early does not help you get the scholarship, but having that time to craft your essays or get letters of recommendation can be helpful. So I really recommend thinking about getting that application in soon to keep you on track for other deadlines. But we'll continue reviewing students for admission before the start of the term. So, but now's the time to get on track with all the other really important deadlines. We have a question of whether or not we offer scholarships for sport management students.
Yeah, we do. We've been working for the past couple of years to build a pool of money that's designated for student scholarships, and we started launching it this current academic year again. So it's a $1,500 scholarship for current students. An incoming student wouldn't be eligible for it, but you know, sophomore, junior, and senior year, they would be. At this point, it is one scholarship a year, but we continue to work with our sport partners to grow that pot of money so that we can offer more scholarships. But right now, that's the one. And I believe it's called the Sport Management Scholarship or something rather generic and easy to find.
And I would just highlight that the sport management program is eligible for the WUI Western Undergraduate Exchange tuition rate. So students who are from out of state and states west of Colorado that participate in the WUI exchange program, those students pay 150% of the in-state tuition rate. So it's less than being an out-of-state resident, a little bit more than being in-state. So that would be something to check into. And for out-of-state students who don't qualify for the WUI tuition rate, we have our Peak Scholarship. And for our in-state students, we have the Chancellor's Award. They are still finalizing the criteria for those merit-based awards with now that we are test optional. So you'll want to continue to monitor that. We will publish that once it's available. We have a question if we do auto admissions. So Ian, do you want to talk a little bit more about admissions recommendations or criteria for sport management?
I'm going to lean to you for what does auto admissions mean?
Yeah, so for auto admission, so I'm kind of going to guess that maybe you're wondering about whether or not you need to write essays or get letters of recommendation. So what I would say is that if you do meet the admission criteria that Ian had talked about, then you would be admissible to UCCS and to the sport management program. So he had mentioned that 3.25 high school GPA if you do not submit ACT, SAT test scores and you are graduating from high school in spring of 2021. Those are the only students eligible for test optional admission. And then if you do take the test, then that 21 ACT and the SAT score that he mentioned would be needed. In addition, I think it was a 3.0 GPA. So, so if you meet that criteria, you do not need to submit essays or letters of recommendation.
And
Yep.
if I'll just throw out too, if you guys are concerned of where you're at with your admission or admissibility, email me. The best thing that we can do is have conversations around it, because I'll be honest, I've worked at UCCS. I think this is my 9th year and I get confused by it a lot of the time. Jacqueline's an expert because this is her domain. And so, you know, email me, let's have a conversation, because if you don't first meet the admission criteria, that does not mean the door is slammed forever. There's other ways through business intent, through submitting different scores. There's just email me, let's have a conversation, totally open door with that, because we want to help you come to UCCS. We don't want to make this a burdensome, crazy, hard process.
We also had just a question about the GPA. It is going to be a weighted GPA that we look at, and that would be grades 9 through 12, whatever you have on your high school transcript up to this point. Obviously, most students don't have their first semester 12th grade on there yet, but so 9 through 11 is what we'd be looking at right now for admissions criteria.
And that'd be for campus though, right? I think business were unweighted GPAs.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, so that would be for like the scholarship component.
Got you, sorry.
And I do just want to, you know, confirm, like Ian is a very, he's really someone that you can reach out to an email. He is happy to help prospective students. And so I highly recommend do connecting with him. For any of our transfer students on the call, if you have questions about how long this program will take you, he can help you out with kind of the sequence of the courses, and if you can get your degree done in 2 years, or he can tell you, well, it's going to take you a little bit longer because you still need these classes. So no question is too silly for Ian. He will help you out, and he truly is a support for our students in the program. And I have experience from seeing sport management students come and work in our office and seeing how much he's willing to meet people. And he's someone that's always popped in after tours to say hello to students and answer questions. So definitely reach out to him. We also have go@uccs.edu. That's our Office of Admissions email if you have additional questions, and we can help you too. I did see that someone put in a question about whether or not we have scholarships for athletes. We do have the presidential award, which is it takes you 110% of the in-state tuition rate. So if you're an out-of-state student, there are 4 different categories you can apply under for that scholarship. One of those is being a Division II athlete. So that's the presidential award. Athletic scholarships go through the coaches. So they all handle that individually, and you want to be in contact with the coaching staff. But that would be one out-of-state athletic award I'd want you to be aware of. So it looks like we've answered a lot of questions tonight. We really appreciate you all joining us. Again, reach out to Ian with more questions. And thank you so much for joining us for Major Monday.
And before you guys sign off, we have tons of fun, and Aaron is a testament to success. And so without our successful students, we really can't, we wouldn't be the program that we are. And so it's Aaron and his peers. Folks like Jacqueline in the UCCS admissions office really make our place easy for students to navigate. So we'd love to see you guys. Thank you for your time. If you are interested in the score, you can listen. And if you don't want to hear, plug your ears. But Dallas is losing right now. I'll just leave it at that. So thank you guys very much, Jacqueline. Thank you for hosting. And we hope to see you guys as future Mountain Lions.